Hey out there, this is Thursday, October 29th, 2020. And it is just about 7:38 in the morning here in Northern California. And I'll get into a few different things today as usual. I'll try to keep it brief. I know how to do a few things, and one of them is talk. And it's been a good way for me to vent, being able to talk. And I was just thinking about cherished American values. And at the top of that list for me is this right to free speech we have in America. It is precious. And for as much time as I spend excoriating not just the American people, but by extension, civilization at large, our race, basically, the human race, including myself. Because, like I point out, for the cause of righteousness, for justice on earth, not for some people, but for everybody, I haven't taken a bullet to the brain yet. But plenty of men better than myself have. And we need to know what we're up against. We're up against monsters. And they've manipulated us and shaped us. And we need to be able to speak out against these people. If you're living in some country where free speech is suppressed, what hope is there? But it's also very important to understand the spirit, the attitude with which we need to reach out to evil men. That tiny handful of elitists, hypocrites, self-appointed gods of the earth to oversee the welfare of the planet. That's the type they are. They're the type that erect the Georgia Guidestones with these new 10 Commandments, I think it is. These giant marble stones sound so altruistic, these things they have to say and how the new earth is going to be. And they established the number of the inhabitants of the earth at 500 million. So, if that's not ominous and foreboding and portends something very freaky, that's like we need to think about what these people have in store for humanity. And those are the people that are in control at the very top echelons of power. That's what I'm talking about, this perverted pyramid of power. And these people are powerful. And that's the one right in America that sticks in their craw. You got to understand, you got to believe, because they know how influential America is. So remember, it's about one ant standing up, one bug standing up. And everybody says, you know what? Let's all stand up. Let's demand justice. And it has everything to do with money, everything to do with economics. It's all very simple. It's age old. I call it the age of the money lovers, the masters of misery. They're mean people, and they value money and all the accompanying accoutrements thereof, the power, the control, the status, all the material things, all the sense of security that goes with it. That's being out of fear of not having money. And all the inference of not having any money, is horrendous. It's horrific. It's hellish what people without any money go through. And they don't seem to care. They're the ones imposing it. They've got a logic behind it. They've got a rationale. It is to save the planet, basically. You see, if everybody was prosperous, we'd all be burning fossil fuels more in their estimation. And most people would reason, well, they're right. We probably would. But into that conversation, you notice, we'll never inject disruptive technologies. You understand? What does it disrupt? What are we talking about here? Like profits. It's just like coming out with something that, even something you might not think about, something abstract. Like I was reading recently, I was researching cataracts and different methods of dealing with these things. And most popular is this laser eye surgery, where they just cut out the diseased part of the lens apparently with the laser. I mean, it's incredible technology. I've got to admit. I mean, if you've got the guts to do it, hopefully the machine doesn't malfunction on your day, right? But I stumble across these eye drops that have been developed that dissolve cataracts gradually. So that is an example of disruptive technology that we might otherwise not appreciate and understand and think about, and I like to point those things out. And there's a lot of that. I mean, it's just, you look at this guy, Stan Meyer, this guy purportedly, you can look, the video still exists on YouTube. The guy he doesn't even have a high school diploma, but he's a total genius. And the guy invents an engine that propels his car, like a dune buggy style car. And what he did is he put a bank of 12-volt batteries in it, but it was enough juice to crack the water molecule, and in other words, to extract the hydrogen on demand. So it didn't even need a tank to hold the hydrogen. It wasn't like driving around with a bomb. It was literally making the hydrogen only as you needed it. So there was no chance for any mishap with an explosion. It was completely safe. And he was getting 100 miles to a gallon of water. I mean, now, if that's not an example of disruptive technology, I don't know what is. I mean, if it was an easy conversion, well, all we have to do is switch this around and that, and boom, and make the car manufacturers, make them easy to modify and adapt to a little hydrogen production unit under the hood of your car. I mean, basically, that's what the guy invented. It could have been refined and perfected to that point. It's just like miniaturizing a hydrogen production plant, So, I mean, there was a time when nobody thought a computer could be made smaller than a small building with all the information it was trying to hold. And then gradually, I mean, human beings are incredible thinkers and designers, and we're just very imaginative. And, look where we are now. But a couple hundred years ago, nobody could have foreseen the technology we have now. But it's here, and it's disruptive. So in this conversation, well, on one hand, we can all say, well, it's probably good we got a lot of poor people, even if we're thinking it on a semi-conscious, subconscious, subliminal level. You see, what's going on? A lot of this is happening a little unconsciously, okay? And you know what it's like? I was thinking about this morning. It's like a plant. A lot of plants, particularly tropical ones, if you try to bring them to a harsher climate, they'll die. But over time, it is possible that they will acclimatize. I mean, there's one case study after another. This is what I think evolutionists would kind of refer to as a branch of selective, what do they call it? Natural selection. But nature does that. God built that in, Mother Nature, all that stuff. It's live. It's almost like plants do have a consciousness. I mean, it's incredible. But they can be adapted, and that is what has happened to the human being. Gradually over time, we have adapted. We've allowed ourselves to be acclimatized to madness because that's who they are at the very top. You see, they don't want solutions. That's a big, big, big thing for people to wrap their minds around, okay, to understand. They do not want solutions. Well, you and I, we want solutions. That's a normal, healthy-minded person in their right mind cares about other people. You're a sentient being. You get the connection. You understand that somehow it's inextricable, and you understand the nuts and bolts science behind it, that you're going to get your share, man. Nobody gets to skate. If you got a brother or sister, we're one race. God made us to be living like one family. And when you look around you at all the empirical evidence that you're just observing day in and day out, you say, good God, we don't allow our domesticated animals to be treated like these human beings we're allowing to suffer needlessly. Needlessly. If you don't know the meaning of that word, look it up. It's an absolute term because something is either needed or it's unneeded. It's either necessary or it's unnecessary. And nobody on the face of this globe, particularly here, we tout it. America is the wealthiest nation in the world. Well, we're 25 trillion in debt, and that's growing every day. God knows how we're going to pay it off. Nobody ever discusses that in the media. And we've got human beings suffering needlessly and dying out on the street. Not criminals. Remember, if these were criminals, these people we turn our nose up at, we go, oh my God, they stink. They haven't shot. Oh my God, ooh, how could they live like that? I mean, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, man. You should be ashamed. I see that. That spirit is out there. I mean, nobody comes out and says a lot of stuff I'm pointing out here, but it's there. It's this spirit of not caring about each other. It's demonic. That's what's happened. They've acclimatized us to accept demonism. I don't know how else to put it. That's what it is. When we don't care about each other the way God's saying, you better, my wrath is hanging heavy over you. I'm watching. I'm going to get your attention. That's what he's saying to us. And look what he's allowing these evildoers to do. I mean, it's so emblematic with this coronavirus that they're control freaks. So they just love being able to tell people we've destroyed this sector of the economy and that all these people are suffering and they're all living in fear and misery and loathing and now I've stolen their freedom. They don't know that they're all just slaves of mine. They don't understand because I control the purse strings. Congress, Senate, the money printers, and the Federal Labor Department that's in charge of looking out for the rights of the minimum wage workers. For over half a century, they have not given realistic, mathematical, commensurate, proportional, equivalent cost of living adjustments to the minimum wage workers. And let me be very clear when I start this conversation about this department. Okay, it's a two-way street. Capitalism is got to be based on supply and demand. If it's not, the game just can't be played fair. If there's going to be allowed collusion, price rigging, price fixing, market manipulation, it's not capitalism. Okay, you got to play the game fair. And when you play the game fair, you realize that labor brings the most to the table, the workers, the productive class. Fundamentally, you must understand that. That must be established. And once you do that, you realize that, hey, there's no reason in the world why if the wealth is going to be distributed in an imbalanced fashion, it should go to the workers, right? Those that are actually out there day in and day out contributing their blood, sweat, and tears